we only had 11 players that day. So a bit worried. What if a player get injured? So we don't have any subs. If anyone get injured, then you only
left
left
at the bench.
So there's no one to replace your injured player. Right? At a point of time, I think we are standing at a mid-table.
The match has not much significance to us in terms of the table, in terms of us being able to win promotion. So it was not a call that I would have taken.
We make a big mistake to try our luck to use these two players. Too bad, we were caught red-handed.
Warwick Knights was founded by Nazwan. I don't think so you're playing football.
Looking at his tummy, I don't think he can play football, is it?
I discovered the love of football at the age of 10. That's where I started to play soccer, and all the way to my secondary school and to my national service. After my national service, I started to play like a normal weekend soccer. So I'm not a good soccer player. I think I'm more suitable to be in the management side. I was with a club, Ottawa Serpent. So I managed the club for 5 years, from Island-wide up to Division 3. After I left Ottawa Serpent, I want to show that I can manage the club on my own. So one day, I was chatting with my younger brother and few friends that why not we open up our own club. This is my new dream come true.
His idea was quite ambitious, but we both love football. So we're going to give a try how far we can go with this team.
I want to achieve to a higher level, not only in the NFL, but if possible to try to enter in the S League. All the hotels have a good player. That's why I start to recruit all the players from the hotels. Some are ex-league players. That's where I managed to go through from Island-wide and promoted to NFL Division 3.
I joined the club late 2015. Before that, I was playing for Bestia Khalsa under 18.
I was in Geylang United 2015. After professional football, I just want to have a kick around to keep it going as a daily routine. We never think that far, actually.
Football is not complex. It's 22 men running after a ball, but there's a lot of emotion in between. Singaporeans are obsessed with football. We all grown up watching our Malaysia Cup heroes.
Football have always remained as one of the top 6, 7 sports played by Singaporeans frequently. There are hundreds of registered football societies, but as a club affiliated to the FAS, we probably have about 30 that's playing in our competition. Football is a community sport. We have always encouraged clubs to have an identity that relates back to the community. So it could be a street name, it could be the area where they exist.
Warwick Road is a small road towards Alexandra Hospital. It's just hidden at the corner of AYE. We browse around the street to find a good name rather than a typical Malay name. That's where it comes, Warwick Knights FC.
I can't criticize them for picking a name that they like, but piece of advice for someone to start a football club, try and go and be part of a community first and then build a football club. It's the community that fuels sport. Sports, especially football, cannot stand alone.
I don't think so. There's a people living in Warwick roads because it's very quiet.
I first got to know the club in 2015, where they were looking for someone to help them in their Island-wide league participation. Well, there's no doubt that Nazwan had a passion for soccer, but I didn't think that that setup was good enough to be able to go very far in local soccer.
For the amateur league and amateur teams, they do not really have a home stadium or home venue for each team.
Not having a home stadium does affect us because we don't get our big pitch on training days. Then it's hard to do what we want to do during the game day.
Most times, teams play a lot better when they're playing at home because they're familiar with the grounds, they've got the fans behind them. It gives an identity to the club. Since 2017, we have a core group of identified stadiums that's purely used for the NFL Division 1 and 2. And we have to rotate among the stadiums.
So when you have the teams that don't have their own home ground, you're not really building a community club, which is what football should be. If you look at the structure right now, you've got to come up through the Island-wide League and then get to NFL 2, NFL 1, and then you stay there because there's no promotion relegation, so you don't even have a runway to get to becoming a Singapore Premier League club. They have a bunch of people who are passionate about football. If you really ask them what's the end game, where are you going to really go with this, there's no finish. Warwick Knights started in 2012 in the Island-wide League. And in 2014, they made it to the Division 3. But unfortunately, they got kicked out of the Division 3 because it closed down. So they stayed in the Island-wide League for 2015 and 2016. And in 2017, they made the NFL 2. A lot of the times, the teams in that category a lot of the owners are funding the team out of passion. To be honest, the prize money doesn't really justify the investment they put into the teams.
When the main sponsor pulled out, Nazwan approached me with the possibility of me having a greater say or a greater part in the running of the club. We had a discussion and agreed that I would take over for the 2018 season.
It was an unfortunate incident because there's no question that an infringement had occurred.
This is not the World Cup or the Champions League or even the SPL. You're playing for NFL 2, NFL 1, and you want to cheat to win what?
After that night, all my hard works that I have put in since 2012 has gone to zero.
So the good thing about football is never too late to start or never too early to begin anything. Yeah, I've always heard of Warwick Knights. I know them as a club that play in the lower division.
We started 2017 in a good note, but half seasons, the management didn't have a good relationship with the players. That's where players start to go to other clubs. So instead of we have 25 players, we left with like 14, 13 players. Sometimes we play with 9 players. We are struggling. Although we look professional, we don't let people know what is happening back at the back of Warwick Knights. This was on Saturday night at Yishun Stadium. The game was against Gymkhana FC.
It was one of the matches that the president of FAS had turned up.
Our FAS president, Mr. Lim Katong, came down to handshake the team. We were shortage of players. So, me and my coaches made the decision that we just try our luck. We play with these two unregistered players, just to make a numbers of 11 players.
We have short of players due to injuries. Some are committed to work. So we are left with no choice but to use these two players.
You get worried because if anyone get injured, then you'll be
nobody
left
left
10.
at the bench.
So there's no one to replace your injured player or anything. So the feeling is definitely screwed a bit at a point of time.
When I saw the two players inside the field to play that match, my mind was turning around a bit, saying that, am I doing the right thing?
The game was abandoned because we had 4 players down injured and the game couldn't continue with 7 players.
After the final whistle, I received a text that you are using unregistered players. Someone took a photo of our lineup and he circled the 2 faces that not registered in the club. It really bring my heart down. And I discussed with all the coaches, and all of them worried. I know that I have made a big mistake in my history of football. I know the consequences, but yet I still do it.
We got to know it through
Social media.
What I get a lot was a call, a message from a friend asking, hey, what's wrong, what's happening?
What's going around Warwick?
Yeah.
Unsupporting, basically.
The match happened in November, and I remember that I couldn't make it for the match. And I didn't hear about this until somewhere in December, when we received a letter from the FAS stating that we had violated the regulations and that we were to appear in front of a disciplinary committee. I was taken aback initially because I just took over the club at that time, formally. And we had many plans and many ideas of how we were going to move on for the 2018 season. First thing that I said to Naswan was why. I was upset and disappointed that they would commit such a grave error in a match which had not much significance into our league position. When he told me the reason, the first thing I wanted to say was just show up with 8 players and let the president of FAS know the truth, that the club was struggling to get players because of lack of finance, lack of support, lack of training. We did not really understand the severity of the offense until the actual disciplinary committee.
There's a registration system that we undertake at the start of the season. We have between 20 to 25 players as a maximum number for clubs to register. From the letter of the law, it's a very serious infringement for clubs to have played a player who may not conform to certain requirements that the league has. One important factor is the safety of players as well. So insurance comes to play.
What I thought at the point of time was maybe some point deduction in the future season or whatever. I didn't expect it to be expelled.
The very next day, the press issued an article that we were expelled. We were all in shock. Whatever plans, whatever expectations, whatever dreams that we had, all just seemed to melt away at that time because we were facing expulsion from the league. There was also a chance that we might not be able to even come back to the NFL, but even be relegated to the island-wide. And we knew that a lot of our players would start leaving us, knowing that we would not be participating in the Division 2 tournament.
A lot of youngsters are questioning because they want to know what's going to happen to this club.
What's the next step Are we still in Division 2 or not?
This was Naswan's club. Having nurtured this club from infancy, he was slowly seeing his project or his club disappear. There were a lot of people that were shouting for his blood at that time, but I refused to allow this to happen because it's his club. Throwing away the founder of the club just because of mistakes that he made is not something that I would do.
In the past, it was very common for clubs to use unregistered players because the rules were not as strict. It's easy to get away when you don't get caught. I mean, that's bottom line, isn't it? But it's not in the spirit of the game. And the teams that actually cheat have very poor leadership. They don't respect the laws of the game. They don't respect opponents. And these things happen when people don't respect the game.
There was no question about they will be expelled from the league in that year. Their games were considered null and void. It was a big blow to the club.
The players were concerned that they would not be able to play in the league. Some were even approached by other clubs.
Coach Nastain and Chairman have a talk with us. They will take care everything.
At the same time, our training goes on as normal.
We trust him.
I was angry, but I give him some advice like, stay calm, do what you can, explain to them what happened, and tell them that we are sorry, we don't do this again.
Collectively, the Warwick officials felt that it was best that he stepped down totally and allow me to take over. I decided to retain him as a vice chairman. Life has to go on, and I told him that instead of just sitting down and accepting the punishment, we should do whatever we can.
I was so down at that time. Mr. Andrew had helped me climb out again and also manage the situation with the appeal committee.
On February 13, when I went to the appeals board, my mind was focused more on the preparation of how I was going to present the case. Hoping for the best, we were also prepared for the worst, that we might have to start it all over again. Form a new club, get new players, and starting it from the lower league onwards. While preparing for the appeal, I came across a clause in the competition handbook.
The rule book that existed then in 2017 did not explicitly mention the tenure or the period in which that they will be expelled. So on that grounds, they appealed. There was a contention by Warwick that they should be allowed to come back in the following season.
The board agreed with our appeal and that we were allowed to participate in the Division 2 competition for 2001.
Hey guys, we made it!
It was a relief to me and we did cry. That Mr. Andrew has supported me a lot. Sincerely. I think without Mr. Andrew supporting me from behind, the club wouldn't exist anymore. But sincere, Mr. Andrew, thank you very much. Why?
Okay, we've come a long way. So for that, okay, I congratulate each and every one of you.
We never stop training. We keep going on and going on training. So in 2018, we make a solid comeback to be a second runner-up and be promoted to NFL Division 1. And right now, in 2019, we are here still maintained in NFL Division 1.
Okay, we're here to stay. Next season, we're gonna go all out. Okay, remember why you are here. Okay, go out on the field. Whatever you do, I do not want you to leave with a single ounce of regret. Understand? Okay, come.
Everyone who felt that we were a lost cause, we needed to prove to them that we were not just going to come back into the league, but we're going to make impact in the league.
Let's go. One more time. Let's go. Okay, come, match up.
Everybody make mistakes. Nobody is perfect. But one thing is you learn from mistake. Don't do it again.
It doesn't mean that we make a mistake, we cannot come back. We have to look up front. We can show to them that we can do better for the next season.
The key for us is to ensure that the club can sustain itself, not only financially, but also in terms of being able to find committed players who are willing to believe in the vision that we have.
Hopefully, Warwick Knights will stay in Singapore football and go through all the way to the next level.